Has it ever happened to you? Someone disrespects you, but because you're polite, you say nothing? Someone cuts you off mid-sentence, cancels a plan last minute, steals your idea, and you just smile? You thought you were being patient, gracious, number. You were training them, teaching them exactly how to crush you. Let me tell you something right up front. Respect is either claimed or stolen from you. And if you're still trying to make sure everyone likes you, you need to know you're living one of the most dangerous psychological traps of this century. Silent, but devastating. Listen to this. A massive study showed that people who seek approval too often are the most ignored at work, in relationships, even in line at the bakery. Not because they're weak, not because they're incapable, because no one ever taught them how to set boundaries. But now I'll share a secret with you, just half of it, a secret that some used to change their lives forever. And others, well, they never even realized it existed. And they're still out there, smiling while being disrespected. The story starts with a simple image. You're sitting in a group, someone talks over you. Another one claims your idea, someone else cancels on you because they're too busy. And all of them know something you don't, that you're chasing their approval. And that means they're in control. They decide whether your voice is heard or not. They decide whether your time is valuable or not. But there's one question here, a question only a few have figured out the answer to. Why is it that when some people speak, everyone goes silent and others are just invisible? If that question hits something inside you, good, because this is just the beginning, and I'm warning you now. Once you know this, you can't unknow it. You know what the strangest part is? That you're not alone in this game. You might think you're the only one who smiles and says it's okay when someone cancels on you last minute. The only one who stays quiet in meetings when your idea gets hijacked just because you don't want to ruin the vibe. But no, you're not alone. The only difference between you and those who don't get crushed anymore is that they've realized one thing. Every time you stay silent, you're training them. Your brain is running on a script. A powerful study from Harvard shows that when you feel the need to censor parts of yourself just to get others' approval, your brain activates the exact same region that lights up during fear of rejection. You know what that means? It means you're literally afraid of being judged. Without even knowing it, an inner alarm goes off. Warning, warning, danger. And your brain decides to play it's safe. Pull back, play nice, stay quiet. Because it thinks you're at war, but this isn't war. This is your life. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever typed a message, then deleted it because you thought, maybe that's too much? Ever had an opinion but stopped yourself mid-thought because they might laugh? Or when someone treated you poorly, instead of setting a boundary, you said, it's fine. Sorry, it was probably my fault, you're not the only one. But that also means one very important thing. All of us can break out of this. Here, let me paint you a picture. Imagine someone who's always visible in every group, always smiling, always polite, always available. But what's behind that smile? Exhaustion, frustration, pressure, a heaviness they can't even explain. And that person might be you. Listen, this isn't about starting fights. It's about saying one word, no, or a short sentence, now's not a good time, or even just silence. But silence that has boundaries, silence that has a meaning. So do something right now, right this second. Think of that one person who popped into your mind just now and send this video to them. Maybe they've been smiling for years, but breaking inside. And if you felt even a tiny spark of truth in these words, just drop a like, not for the algorithm. For me to know you're still here, you're still in this, you're still ready to claw your bone out of this trap. But there's still one thing no one talks about, and that thing is about to flip your thinking completely. Have you ever heard the saying, those who stay silent are the deepest? Sure, but not always. Sometimes silence isn't depth, it's defeat. Those silences where you swallow your truth just because you're scared of what people might think. because you want to be liked, even by people who aren't that likable. And that's exactly where philosophy steps in. In the school of Stoicism, there's a quote you should always keep under your tongue. What's outside my control is not worth destroying myself over. Let me translate that to today's language. If someone cuts you off, ignores your effort, cancels without care, it doesn't mean you are worthless. It just means they're showing you who they are. But what about you? Every time you let it slide without drawing a line, you're slowly erasing yourself, like a painting that's being smudged every time someone walks across it. Keep going long enough, and all that'll be left is a blank frame. You have to paint yourself back. Pick up the brush, choose the color, and say, I'm here, and I will be seen. Want to learn a simple but revolutionary technique? Next time you feel like staying silent, pause for 3 seconds. Take a deep breath and say just one sentence. The one you've ignored 1,000 times, please let me finish. This sentence is the simplest and most powerful form of presence. Not rude, not aggressive, just a boundary. And believe me, at that exact moment, the other person's brain receives a signal. I can't play with this one easily. See, no one earns respect with whining and niceness. Respect doesn't come from pity or from forced smiles. Respect starts the moment you realize you don't need everyone to like you. I want you to lock this moment in. If even one part of this feels like your inner voice finally speaking up, drop a comment. I will be seen. Watch who else is still with you. See who else is still in this game. And now it's time to get to that golden key. The one that, when you turn it, doesn't just get your voice back. It makes it impossible for anyone to ignore you, even if they want to. There comes a point in life when you have to decide you're done being the victim. Not by yelling, not by fighting, by standing. And the golden rule is exactly this. If there's no respect, there's no presence. You don't explain. You don't beg. You just step back, calmly, respectfully, and something strange happens. People realize they can't have you for cheap. How long are you going to keep showing up everywhere, but never being taken seriously? How long will you keep pleasing everyone and end up with nothing for yourself? If you don't value yourself, no one else will do it for you. Let me leave you with something you should tattoo under your skin. I deserve respect, even if no one else sees it. One time, a teacher told me, if you're not clear about your boundaries, people will figure them out through trial and error, and usually with a kick. Think about it. That person who only calls when they need something. The boss who always wants overtime but never asks how you're doing. The friend who only shows up when they're down. If you keep saying yes, 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 you're passing a law. Disrespect is allowed here. But if one day you say no, don't reply. Say, not right now, I choose me first. Everything changes. And no, you're not being rude. You're finally becoming someone worth respecting. You know what every truly attractive person I've met has in common? It's not looks, not money, not power, just one thing, calm, with boundaries. They're not afraid of being disliked because they've learned approval is cheap, respect is expensive. Now it's time to make a real choice. Keep playing the same old game, or draw your first boundary today. If you felt any part of this was meant for you, drop a comment right now. From today on, where there's no respect, I'm not there. But this still isn't everything, because there is a moment, a critical one, that comes after you set a boundary. And that moment, it either builds you or it breaks you again. And that moment is exactly what we talk about in the next part. One day you wake up and you're not the same anymore. Not because something outside changed, but because you're done being who you used to be. The person who always stepped back, who always forgave, who always smiled, even when they were breaking inside. That day might look ordinary from the outside. Gray sky, cold coffee, car horns echoing in the street. But inside your head, there's a new voice. Quiet, but firm, and it says, enough. Maybe no one notices. Maybe no one applauds you. But you know something clicked inside. You're no longer for sale. You're no longer that easy yes. You're no longer the one people can walk over without consequence. You are now the person you once dreamed of becoming. Not perfect, not unshakable, but someone with a voice, someone with lines. You've felt pain. You've swallowed disrespect. You've said it's okay more times than you can count, just to keep the peace, but now you understand. That peace you were protecting, it wasn't peace, it was surrender, and now it's time to build yourself, your image, your voice, your boundaries. Not so others will like you, but so you can see yourself clearly. Let me tell you something most people won't dare say. You don't need to bargain, because you are the value. You don't need to apologize for saying no with grace. You don't need to fear who doesn't like you, because you've finally realized if you belong to everyone, you belong to no one. But know this, right now as you're getting stronger, something else is happening. Some people won't like this new version of you. The ones who benefited from your silence, they'll pull away, and that's good, because they were never real. They only needed the weaker you. And now, one thing remains, a secret, a final shift, the one that doesn't just make you strong, it makes you unplayable, untouchable. And that's what I'll give you in the final part, clearly and for the first time. At some point on this path, you realize that true power doesn't come from raising your voice. Real power is knowing when to stay silent and when to drop a no like a hammer. That's when it all clicks. Now everything makes sense. Your silences, your endurance, your tears, your forced smiles, the messages you wrote and deleted, the calls you didn't answer, the plans canceled on you, the stolen ideas, the fake apologies you made just to keep the peace. They weren't just random events. They were building blocks, bricks for the wall. You're finally standing behind, the boundary that's finally yours. And now you're here, a person who not only knows they must demand respect, but who also understands this. Not everyone deserves access to you. Now it's time to make one final choice. Not for them, for you. From today on, anywhere there's no respect, you're not present, where people treat your voice like background noise. Mute it, where someone dismisses your effort. Step back, not with hate, with honor. This is freedom. This is peace. This is the first time the image in the mirror is fully yours. Now remember that question from the very first second of this journey. Why is it that when some people speak, everyone goes quiet, while others are invisible? Here's the answer. Those who are seen didn't beg to be noticed. They built boundaries. Those with voices weren't searching for a megaphone. They stood tall enough to be heard. Now it's your turn. Do one thing today, just one practice. When someone crosses the line, don't stay silent. You don't need to shout. You don't need to explain. Just say one sentence, "This is not acceptable to me." That single sentence, it shifts everything. And if you've made it this far, know this, you've stepped away from the 99% who chase approval. You're in the 1% who define who's allowed inside their space. So right now, if even one line of this spoke to you, drop a comment. My respect begins with me. And this was just one piece of the puzzle. In the next video, I'll show you a final technique. How to walk into any room, say nothing, and still make everyone listen. Because that's when you're not just strong, you are undeniable.